and welcome to A Kind Voice on Employment, Opportunity, and Innovation. I'm your host, David Levins, and we're here today with Travis Duncan and Becca Cruz talking about the C21 Library. The C21 Library is a really innovative concept in libraries located in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So I just want to jump right into it. Becca, Travis, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. I visited Colorado Springs about a month ago, and I thought the library was just terrific, so I'm real glad you guys agreed to come on to talk about it. Travis, can you give our audience an overview of what the library is?
Sure thing. We work at Library 21C in Colorado Springs, and we like to say that it's a new model for a public library. A lot of people might think of the library as a place where you go and you get materials and then you go home. But in our library, it's a place where you make things. So this library is built all around the concept of people coming in and doing innovative things with the tools we provide, collaborating with others and sharing those things with the world. So we have things at this library like 2 maker spaces where we have lots of tools for folks to come in to use, like 3D printers and the ability to use CNC machines. And we even have really nice sewing machines. And we have something called the Center for Public Media where we have video camera equipment, really nice equipment and lighting equipment that folks can use, nice recording equipment so bands can come in and record music videos or record an album. This is a library that's all about making things.
Wow. So that's almost a reverse of your traditional library concept where people take things out. Here people come in there and synergies are created, new things are created. And you guys are like kind of curators of that.
Definitely, and we're even involved right now in trying to figure out how to collect that content and and have collections that the community can then listen to. So we've got a group right now working on a local music project that we're planning to launch soon, so that these local bands and local musicians who are coming in and recording can have a place to showcase their work, and then the community can check it out through the library.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of things, and I want to dive deeper into that. But first, I'd like to get more of a broad overview of what the library is. Becca, there's different spaces in the library. Can you tell us about all the different spaces they have in the library and what they're used for?
Sure. So we have the top floor of Library 21C is referred to as the Creative Computer Commons, and that's actually made up of several different points. We have our Business and Entrepreneurial Center, and that's where our computer lab is also located. So in that area, we have a lot of really great spots for local business owners, small business owners to be able to set up and hotel all day, where they can just, they have a place where they can come in and access Wi-Fi and do conference calls. And if they have people that they need to meet with, there's tables that they can just meet with people, or study rooms that they can book and use to meet with people. And, that provides people who don't necessarily have a building for their business with the opportunity to still have some of these meeting space possibilities. The computer lab is really widely used just for anybody who's coming in who needs computer access. So, we have people doing all kinds of things from Facebook to job applications and resumes, learning new skills in the different classes that we offer. And then across the way on the top floor, we have gaming areas. There's one for teens, and there's also one for adults. So it's just this space that people can come and enjoy themselves and check out some video games or play computer games. And then, of course, like Travis mentioned, we have the 2 maker spaces, and there's one that has kind of the heavy-duty machinery available in that. And so we have the 3D printing and laser cutters and a CNC machine. And then we have another space that has less equipment in it, but it's where we hold the bulk of our classes. And we'll have things like crafting programs, circuitry programs, sewing machines are in that space. The Center for Public Media, as Travis mentioned. Yeah, there's so much stuff. It takes a while to go through it all. The Center for Public Media is on this floor as well. And so as Travis mentioned, that's something that our staff use to make videos that promote the library, but also that the public can come in and learn how to use these things that people may have never had the opportunity to be exposed to before, and they can come in and learn how to use a video camera and then check one out and go make a video when they're mountain biking or something. And then we have our large performance space, so that's called the venue at 21C, and it's up to 400 people. So, we've had some great things going on in there and lots of meetings, different performances. And that covers the top floor. Yeah.
Now, the gaming space, can people play any games is like there, or do you not have, violent video games?
Our current library policy is that we collect video games up to a teen rating. So we don't have any M-rated games at this point in our collection. So the way the computer games work, we have Steam accounts, and Steam is an online computer game provider, and you can purchase certain games through that. So we went through and tried to find games that were both popular but still fell within our collection development policy for both spaces, for the adults and for the teens. And then the console games that we have also fall within our collection policy.
Nice. So it's all very well thought out. In the maker spaces, what are some of the most innovative things that people have made, or what are some examples of innovative things people have made?
Oh, for sure. Sure. We've had people use the maker spaces for all kinds of different needs and things. One of the, we want to educate people. We also want to entertain people. So we've had some people just come in and they want to make just something that they, like a pop culture kind of thing that they're really into. But with the Creative Computer Commons department, one of our big goals is to support local business. So we actively try to do that with the maker spaces as well. And we've done prototyping for people. We've made parts, like one gentleman that had come in and used the space, he had a car wash that he owned, and a friend of his was knowledgeable in CAD software and was able to create a model for him to put on to his vacuums with his business, and with the hope that that would help to make them better. We've done some really neat things with the 3D scanner, where people have brought in antiques that they need a replacement part for. One of our favorite and original stories is an antique radio collector who needed a knob for his radio, and you can't find those replacement pieces at the store, so he brought in the piece that he had, and we helped him with scanning it and then doing a little bit of modeling, and we're able to 3D print him a replacement part that he could then paint to match the radio and have it complete again. We had another really cool one. Yeah. I mean, we've had lots of replacement pieces that we've made for people for things like another vacuum story where somebody had a vacuum that she just absolutely loved, but they weren't selling replacement pieces for it anymore, and all she needed was a new wheel. So we could help her to learn how to 3D model, because it's a very, basic kind of shape, and she was able to work with staff to create a new wheel so that she could continue using this vacuum that she really liked. Similar things we just had someone with a broken faucet that needed a replacement piece for it, and the faucet isn't one that is sold anymore, and so you can't get replacement parts for it. So being able to help people with things that, are no longer available out there, and just be able to create a replacement for that rather than having to get a whole new machine or device. It's just been really neat to be able to do. We had an archaeologist. Yeah. I mean, another really cool story was we had an archaeologist who would go out into the field and was really interested to find out how 3D scanning might be able to assist him with his field work. So he brought in a rock that he had made different levels of etching into, so that then we would scan it and then 3D print it to see would a 3D scanner work for him to take into the field to scan some of these archaeological finds and then be able to 3D print it later for others to be able to see.
I mean, there's just so many innovative things going on there now. You were talking about the guy prototyping the vacuum cleaner part to sell it. So you guys are almost like a business incubator in a way, helping someone create a part that they would use for a for-profit business.
Definitely something that we want to be able to assist people with. We can't be their manufacturers ultimately, but we can help with the prototyping. So
they come with what they want, and do you guys have expertise there to help them design it?
Mostly with the prototyping, mostly with the prototyping, it's more of people bringing in their files of what they want, and then people, like we've had engineers, and they'll, if it doesn't work quite right, then they'll come back again in a month when they've had time to kind of tweak their design a little bit and hopefully make it better and try again to print it. We do offer a couple of very basic level 3D modeling classes to kind of help people get their feet wet with it. And we offer it on one of the freely available softwares that you can get from the internet, so that you can use it at home if you want to. You can use it at the library, and it's just really accessible and a nice way to kind of start learning it.
And this is so cool, but I guess a lot of people wouldn't think of a library as if you need a special knob for an old radio. You wouldn't think to go to your library for that. How are you guys getting the word out about that you guys are available to help with these sorts of things?
Well, we do a lot of talking with people, and we've done a lot of things, and Travis can probably speak to this a little bit more about getting the word out, because that's definitely his specialty. But we've done a lot with like newspapers and things, and Travis, if you want to chime in, please feel free to take over on this one.
Oh, yeah, sure thing. So I work in the communications department at the library district, and the build-up to opening this new library was pretty extensive. We not only did paid advertising, but we also, really got the word out through press releases and kind of selling the idea of this is a new, different kind of library that you might not have heard of. But it's all based, in that emerging maker movement, and the idea that libraries can be great third places where people enjoy hanging out. They've always been that. But when materials become, I guess, more virtual, when you can read a book on a tablet, when you can check out a book from a tablet, the library's value as a place is lessened, even though people probably would like to have a place where they can go create, collaborate in a comfy environment, create new kinds of content. I mean, it's what the modern internet and the future, the culture right now is all about. So libraries have always been that place where people come together to create, collaborate, so that's what people are doing here. It's just it's the idea of letting people know that's what is available now at your library, that it's not what you've typically thought of as a library. So, even a year or more before this library opened, we were starting to talk about that idea, starting to implement some of these maker-like programs in other libraries around our district, so that we'd be ready when this building opened, and so that we could tell stories about what's already going on at the library. And by the way, this new facility is coming where you can do even more.
Wow. So the whole rollout process is really well thought out. We need to take a quick break, so we'll be right back after this message.
Hi, this is Corey from Runa, and at Runa we make a number of different beverages, all from one leaf called guayusa. Guayusa is a naturally caffeinated leaf from the Ecuadorian Amazon. Indigenous peoples in that area have been brewing and drinking it like tea for thousands of years. All the guayusa that we sell is certified organic, fair trade, and non-GMO. And because guayusa is naturally packed with caffeine and antioxidants, it gives you this really nice, clear-headed, clean, and focused energy. We think of ourselves as a lifestyle brand because Guayusa fuels you in doing whatever it is in your life that you need or love to do. So if it's one of those days where you need to sit at your desk for 8 hours and pound out some project or report, then Guayusa is perfect for fueling you and doing that work. Alternatively, if it's a beautiful day out and you're going to do yoga in the park or you're going for a bike ride in the woods, then Guayusa is perfect for fueling that as well. It gives you this amazing, full-body, wholesome energy and helps you feel fully alive. And that's why we call our company Runa. Runa is a Quechua word that actually means fully alive or fully living human being. We're sold in natural, organic food stores across the country. We're also in Whole Foods nationwide, and you can always find a store near you on our website with our store locator at runa.org. Go out to a store near you, grab a box or a bottle or a can, and crack one open and try one today.
He went without food, not to lose weight, but to help people lose generations of hate. While many around him rose up with violence, he sat down for peace. When others used religion as an excuse for war, he used it to remind them of love. Mahatma Gandhi made the world a far better place by reaching out with the strength he cultivated within his soul. So, pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
A Kind Voice Radio.
And welcome back to Kind Voice on Employment, Opportunity, and Innovation. We're here speaking with Becca Cruz and Travis Duncan about a really innovative library in Colorado Springs called Library C21. Guys, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having us back.
Now, Duncan, before the break, you were talking about all the plans you went through to kind of let people know what you're doing with the C21 library. With all these cool things going on there, as word of mouth and other sources continue to spread the word, do you see C21 getting kind of very crowded and overwhelmed with patrons? Do you have a plan to expand upon this concept?
There's definitely, usage has definitely picked up since we opened the doors. We'll still have a few people that come in from time to time and say, oh gosh, this is my first time being in this library. But we have a lot of people that are coming in on a weekly or daily basis at this point. Some things are definitely in high demand. I would say our study rooms are very booked, and the meeting rooms as well. Space is always something that people are looking for. But even with the high use, a lot of times I think that people can still come in and find some place that they can hang out and sit down and get their stuff out and work on whatever it is they're needing to work on.
Now, you guys have a phase 2 of this project, is that correct?
It is. So we called phase 1 kind of the opening of Library 21C, the marketing of that, the getting the building open. And the building is really big, I believe 112,000 square feet. And so we were able to move a lot of admin positions from our East Library and our Penrose Library to Library 21C, which opened up a lot of space at those locations. So phase 2 is the implementing of this maker culture, this idea of the library as a place where you make things at those other library locations. So we're right now in the midst of doing renovations to our East Library and our Penrose Library to include things like maker spaces in those areas. So the same tools that are available at this library will eventually be available at every library throughout the district. But we're starting with those 2 libraries. A big reason is because we were able to free up so much space by opening this library.
Interesting. Now, what is it about Colorado Springs that makes it a fertile ground for such a wonderful library to materialize?
I think that the maker culture is really alive and well in this town. There's a lot of small business. There's manufacturing. There's tech here. And all of those things combining together just make this kind of setting something that's really beneficial for the community, and that we've seen a lot of people want to use and be very interested in what we're doing with it.
Now, is this a totally unique library, or are people in other areas of the country doing similar things?
There are other libraries around the country doing similar things, but I would say on a much smaller scale. Some library locations will have, a room tucked away, where if teens might be able to go and record, a podcast or little things like that. But by and large, we are one of the few libraries doing this kind of thing on the scale that we're doing at, where the whole library, 100,000 square feet of space is dedicated to this kind of library and this kind of model. Becca may know of some other examples of bigger libraries around the country, but as far as I know, we're one of the biggest in the whole country.
Oh, yeah, it's a wonderful thing. I mean, there's so many great things in Colorado Springs, but it's worth the trip there just to see this library. It's terrific. How was the idea formulated to do something on this bigger scale?
It was definitely a collaborative process. Our IT officer, Carolyn Coulter, likes to talk about how she used to be the IT officer at Boston Public Library, and she likes to talk about how she had the idea of merging the idea of a library that is about making things and a library that was about helping the business community and merging it into one thing. And how she'd wanted to do that in Boston and thought it was a great idea when she came out here. So, I think she helped plant the seed in our leadership. Our director at the time, Paula Miller, was really influential in seeing that this was the place libraries were heading, and getting the whole organization on board with planning for this kind of sea change.
Wow, it's such a wonderful thing, and it's great you guys took the initiative. Becca, we're talking about the upper floor now. On the lower floor, I know there's a cafe, kind of a collaboration of business and public. Can you talk about the cafe and the other things on the lower floor?
Sure. It's called Her Story Cafe, and Travis might actually be better at talking to that because that agreement kind of goes through his department, but I'm happy to talk about the other parts first, and then he can kind of pick that up.
Let's do that.
Okay. So, everything that most people come into a library expecting to see, we still have here. We still have the area with all of the books for, more written and geared toward adults. So all of the nonfiction, all of the fiction, the magazines, the newspapers, movies, music, books on CD, all of those things, all of the physical collection is still there. We also have a teen center, which is a really great place for kids 12 to 18 to be able to hang out with kids their own age. There's computers in there for them to work on homework or to relax a little bit after school. There's study rooms that are available in there, and teens will regularly be meeting with their tutors. And then they have the books that are more specific for them. And then we have a great children's department as well. So that typically serves the ages of birth to 11. So that's actually a lot of different stages developmentally, and we have some really great pieces that kind of go toward each different developmental stage. We have a section for babies. There's a little baby area where there's little toys and things that are, good for stimulating infant development. There's things for toddlers. We're part of the Family Place Libraries, and that's a really big program that we're involved in. It's focusing on birth to 5, but with special emphasis on birth to 3. So along with all of the great picture books and board books and, younger readers that we have, we also have developmentally appropriate toys like puzzles and train tables and dramatic play, all of these kinds of games and activities that help kids to get ready to learn so that they're more prepared for when they're going into school. And then it also combines the element that the parents are sitting there with their kids as well. And so we have booklets on different developmental issues like maybe temper tantrums or picky eating or potty training, and we have some nonfiction books on those same kinds of topics in that area that parents might have the opportunity to see and grab and look at while their kids are there playing, or they can play with their children and interact with them. And that's just one of the really neat things that we have in the children's department, as well as, computers that encourage learning. And then there's an area for the tweens. So there's some bigger furniture so that they feel more comfortable, and some computers that are more geared toward them that they can do homework on or play a little bit of Minecraft if they want to. So that's pretty much those services. I'll let Travis cover the cafe unless you have any questions about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like a tremendous amount of thought has went into the content of what's there and how things are set up. But the building itself has a real nice, big, open, airy feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the overall kind of approach to design in the building and what it's supposed to, the feelings it's supposed to generate?
Definitely. The library worked with Humphreys Poley Architects out of Denver to help design the space. And as I said before, there was quite a bit of build-up and planning involved in looking at this space and figuring out how to make it a great place that people would want to come hang out in. So we had some early, brainstorming sessions where the architects would come in with staff, and we would look at photos from libraries from all over the world to see what was innovative, what looked interesting, what looked like something we might be able to do at our library to make it a great, good place. And then they came in after a lot of brainstorming, a lot of using physical models to say, like, where would the children's department go? Where should the maker spaces be? What makes the most sense? We're looking at a building. We didn't build this building. This was actually an old call center that sat vacant for 10 years, and the library got a really good deal on it because it had been vacant for so long. That's how we were able to get such a large building, a large facility that suited our needs. But it was a number of years, I think, of our leadership team here at the library looking at different spaces, looking at the community, that would be around the area where it would open, and finally come up with what we think was just the perfect location, the perfect size building. So part of what's really creates at least in the atrium, what creates a really cool sense of space is that the ceilings are really big in the main atrium area, so that you can stand and see 2 floors at once. You can look over all the way, and great line of sight in the building. You can almost stand at one end and look all the way to the other. So it's got a really open feel. And the architects, putting in the different spaces, the maker spaces, putting in books, they really kept that open feel to the place, so that the library would retain that open feel and not feel claustrophobic. And it has great views of the our Pikes Peak and the mountain range to our west. They really maintained all that. They didn't block any of the views in the library, so that was done intentionally to make it a really nice place to come in and study and get something to eat from Her Story Cafe downstairs. I know Becca said I would talk a little bit about that, but Her Story Cafe being right next to that atrium really helps create a nice atmosphere for folks. And getting them in here. They're called Her Story. It's a play on history. They have women's history themed food items, menu items, and they also have a lot of cool decorations up on the wall that have to do with women's history. They've even used some of our special collections department photos, historic photographs of famous women of the Pikes Peak region. So they've even incorporated library material into their decor, which is pretty neat.
Integration of a lot of ideas with practical things.
Definitely.
How long did it take from the time you guys approved the idea to the time the library doors opened?
The facility was purchased officially in late 2011, and we opened our doors June 21st of last year of 2014. So a few years, of studying and planning and figuring out how we wanted this library to look.
Not that long for something so wonderful. So it's a really well thought out thing. We need to take a quick break for a good news report. So we'll be right back after this.
Tell us about the good news.
Hi everyone, This is Brandon Dincher with your Good News Report, a place where we deliver happy and exciting news from all over the world. This week, I went in search of a very heartwarming story and found quite a unique piece from New Mexico. Basically, a woman from New Mexico was engaged and all set to get married, but unfortunately for personal reasons, the engagement did not work out. Where the interesting part of the story comes in is that instead of selling the $2,100 diamond ring, the woman chose to find a deserving couple instead to gift it to. She said in a written statement, quote, "I didn't want it to become another pawn shop ring. For me, it was a symbol of love and happiness." After dozens of people submitted stories and pictures to the woman on Facebook, she chose Josh Michaels for the gift, who was diagnosed with a rare form of stage 4 cancer. The couple had a very special message for the woman. "I would really like to take her out to lunch or something, just to meet her. And I'm sure there's a crazy story behind it. And maybe we can share each other's crazy stories and make friends out of it. Just thank you. I appreciate it." This is definitely a story with a very remarkable twist, since the anonymous woman chose to give something so special from her life to another individual in need. The ring will definitely be a symbol of a stranger's kind voice and kind heart, as well as a symbol for the love between Josh and his girlfriend, soon-to-be wife, Laura. This week's quote comes from Steve Jobs. "Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow know what you truly want to become." Thank you to everyone for listening to this report, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day and continue to use your kind voice to make the world a better place for everyone. Bye, guys.
A Kind Voice Radio.
And welcome back to Kind Voice on Employment, Opportunity, and Innovation. Our program is part of the bigger mission of A Kind Voice, which is to make our world a kinder, more connected place, one conversation, one act at a time. We'll talk with Becca Cruz and Travis Duncan about Library C21 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Guys, before the break, Travis, you were talking about the cafe, her story cafe downstairs, and that's a great example of a partnership between business and the city government. Can you talk about how those kinds of partnerships happen?
Sure, definitely. That those kind of partnerships are kind of a new model for this building. I mentioned earlier about how this library is meant to be, a collaboration space between business and entrepreneurs and makers and maker culture. So, having a vendor in like Her Story Cafe that benefits us, benefits them, that's perfect. We also have Rico's copy center upstairs, so they are doing the printing for the library district, but they're also available for patrons to come in and use their printing service with Rico's. So we brought them in. We knew we wanted a copy service center, a full service copy center. We knew we wanted a cafe. We didn't know who that would be, but leadership team, helped prepare RFP for that, request for proposal, and Her Story and Rico's gave us, the library the best offer. So that's how we ended up with them here. But also the library as a whole, we've changed some of our policies even regarding use of our space. So, for instance, the venue at 21C is a great performance space. And we've had local theater companies come in, and what we do, we kind of work it out on a case-by-case basis, but basically the idea is that for-profit businesses can do business here if approved by the library. They just have to offer something back to the community for free. So in the case of Dragon Theater Productions, they're the theater company that came in. They do community theater where anyone who tries out for a part can get a role and be in the play, which is fantastic and kind of perfect for the library. So, and they charge tickets for all of their shows, except they had to offer one show that was completely free. So that's an example of how we work with a company to benefit them, but also bring great programming into our library that is also free to the public.
Wow, that's fascinating stuff. So you guys aren't just serving a community. You're trying to create new community, new activities. Now, if a band comes in And can a band actually record a song at your library?
They can. Yep, we've had lots of musicians come in and record from just a few songs to whole albums. And we actually have an electronic newsletter that we send out that keeps people up to speed with what's going on in the Center for Public Media. But we've got great video of different kinds of musicians, all kinds of different kinds of musicians, recording their songs in that space. And then they have we have really nice equipment in there, so they've got professional quality audio done for free at the library. Then they can take that and use that to sell as their album, which is pretty fantastic.
Oh, that's an amazing thing. So let's say the band goes viral and makes $1 million. Do you guys get a piece of the action there, or it's all? No, but we would love that. We would be proud and happy to be part of any kind of success like that. Definitely. And have companies, have people made videos that have had big success, either music or? Do people actually make a webcast, a little television kind of episode that goes on the web? Do they use your studio to shoot that as well?
People could easily do that. There's been such a variety of things recorded in the studio already. It's amazing. I walked in one day and someone was wearing they were wearing a complete green screen bodysuit, and they were holding up like a bee, like a giant bee that was supposed to be flying through the air, on a green screen. So they're making it fly, and they were filming a movie I think called Zombie. So it was supposed to be like a bee horror movie kind of thing. So from that to kids programming to local corporations or nonprofits who want to get the message out about what they're doing, or interview. It shows some interesting interviews with board members and the importance of what their organization does. I mean, this is how a lot of organizations are getting the word out about what they do anyway. We offer the space and the equipment where you can produce high quality stuff that shows what your organization does, and then for free, and then you can spread that out to the world.
Fascinating stuff. Now, do you offer any kinds of classes, like if you want to produce a little movie in a studio, or a little webcast video in your studio, do you offer classes on how to go about doing that have a specific example?
We do. A lot of the classes are kind of based around the technical issues of using our equipment. So we're teaching classes like audio engineering, so you can learn how to use audio software. Offering classes on how to use the video recording equipment. We don't have a lot of programs necessarily like how to make a documentary yet, although that could happen. But a lot of it's just we have so much nice equipment. Kind of the focus has been, here's how you use it. But what you want to make with it is kind of up to you.
Do you ever have directors in there teaching people how to create a video? Do you have those kinds of classes?
We do, and actually this might be a nice segue for Becca to talk about the Maker in Residence and Artist in Residence programs. I think that's a really good example of local creators coming into the library space to teach their skills to the community.
So I believe your Maker in Residence is currently Michelle Lim. Is that correct?
She actually just finished up her time with us about a week or so ago, and our new maker is Sarah Withy, and she does origami. So we've had a really wide variety of art and making types since we started. We had somebody that did very traditional art and drawing and painting classes. We had somebody who taught people how to make shadow puppets. She's very well known in this part of the world as a puppeteer, and she taught people how to make the puppets, which was very well attended. We had somebody who did collage art, so multimedia collage kinds of things. We had a bookbinder who taught some different techniques for how to bind books. Michelle that you mentioned, she did fractals and then also some animation kinds of things. She taught some stop motion animation classes that were really fun. And then we have origami now. So each maker is with us for 6 weeks, and they offer a couple of classes at Library 21C, And then they also offer a class at 2 other locations, and that's just one of the ways that we have tried to spread the maker aspects of this location to other libraries within our district, was by, offering up free classes for these other locations from our makers. So we try to make sure that everybody's had an opportunity to get a maker class, and I think we just kind of got to that point and started over again. So people are now getting their second round of maker classes, which has just been really fun, a fun way for the maker to see more of the district, and a fun way for people who might not be close to Library 21C to still really be introduced to some of the things that are going on at this location.
Wow, you have so many diverse talents as makers. What kind of thought process goes into choosing who the maker in residence would be?
Well, we put out a call. We've done 2 so far since we've been open, and we kind of give a little bit of information about what the program would entail, and we ask for people to send in proposals for what kinds of classes that they would do and what projects they would work on during their studio hours, because beyond the classes, they also spend time in Make just doing whatever it is they're working on, and people get to just come in and talk with them about their craft and ask questions, find out more, learn about the classes. So that's really weighs heavily into it, is, what have they proposed? Have they really thought out what they would want to do? Because the more information that people are able to give us, the better we're able to determine, is this something that will work in this location as well as other locations throughout the district. I mean, we're open to just about anything. We love to have wide variety. We want people to be able to go to all of the locations, to be available throughout a wide variety of different times that we're open, so that like during those studio hours, there's different people coming through the library at different times of the day. And so everybody has the possibility of being exposed to this program, and then just having a really well thought out idea that will work within our constraints, both space wise and funding wise.
Wow, and you get a lot of feedback, not just in the area of makers, but you get a lot of feedback from the community on what they want to see in this library for other areas as well.
Definitely. We have, we're always talking with people who are coming through, and I feel a lot of the staff are able to quickly develop a relationship with people where they feel comfortable telling them, oh, hey, this is fantastic, but if you had this too, that would be a really great addition. That would help with me being able to use the library better. And so, we take all of those under serious consideration, and if it's something that makes sense and that we can do, we try to implement things when people tell us what they're interested in.
I think that's amazing. You guys are doing terrific stuff. We need to take our final break, so we'll be right back after this message.
Hi, I'm Claire Bloom, and I started End 68 Hours of Hunger to put bags of food in the hands of local children who have little or nothing to eat for the 68 hours between the free lunch they get in school on Friday and the free breakfast they get in school on Monday. Our vision is to end childhood hunger in America one school at a time, and that's how we operate. We start programs wherever we have 2 volunteers in a community who are prepared to step up and take responsibility for running the program, and we grow from there. Today, we're feeding 900 children each weekend in 29 communities, and we're growing. If you're interested in starting a program in your community, please visit our website at www.end68hoursofhunger.org and click on the tab at the top of the page that says FAQ. Everything you need to know about starting a program is there, including videos on how to talk with groups, how to set up your space, and even what kind of food to include in the bags. Feel free to reach out to me at end68hoursofhunger@gmail.com.
This is NASCAR driver Kurt Busch, and I am proud to support our nation's veterans. Do you know you can get a faster decision on your disability compensation claims by filing an electronic fully developed claim, or e-claim, on e-benefits. Take it from a guy who lives his life in the fast lane. Faster is better. Visit ebenefits.va.gov today to learn more.
Kind Voice Radio.
And welcome back to Kind Voice on Employment, Opportunity, and Innovation. I'm your host, David Levins, and we're here with Becca Cruz and Travis Duncan talking about Library C21 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Guys, I was told this is kind of an experiment and it's evolving. Where do you see it evolving to? How do you see changes happening to this library in the future?
I think that's something that is being discussed like on a philosophical, national library kind of level. You know, everybody wants to remain relevant, and I think libraries are very much relevant. And I think that the way that we remain so is by talking with our communities and working with them to know exactly what it is that they need from us, because that's what the library is here for. One of the things I absolutely love about working in libraries is I think of it as a great equalizer. It's a place where people who can't afford a computer or can't afford the monthly internet fees can come in and use the internet. And, you know, it's hard to get by in this world anymore without that, because that's how you apply for jobs. That's how you work with a lot of the government programs, all of these different things, and that's what's required. And when people talk about libraries, I think it's important to think of them as educational institutions, and it's a place where people can come to learn. And that's one of the things that we're doing now with the maker spaces. We're offering people the opportunity to learn these new 21st century literacies. I mean, we're still working with the kids down in the children's department to be ready to read. We're working with them and playing games that help them to be able to master that skill when it comes to the appropriate time to do so. And, you know, in the maker spaces, we're teaching classes on 3D modeling. We just started a class where people are learning some really basic video game design, and that's a huge industry. Our local university, the University of Colorado Springs, they offer a degree program that deals with things like video game design, and that's, you know, you can use that for all kinds of different things. It's software development. 3D printing is becoming just huge in the world. It's being used in the medical community. It's being used in manufacturing. It's being used in pharmaceuticals, food. It's something that is becoming more and more pervasive. And by having these services, we're offering people the opportunity to learn these new things that are going to become more and more important in everyday life. And I think that that's just what the focus will remain to be, is helping people to learn what it is that they need to learn. And another big aspect of libraries now is the idea that Travis kind of touched upon at one point of third place. And that's the idea that you have your home and you have work, and then what's that third place? And the library as being a part of that. So, you know, you can come in and you can go to a meeting, you can just hang out and relax, or you can learn something new, and just having that other option for where you can go is going to continue to be a big part of libraries.
It's such a beautiful and inspirational place. I mean, have you had conversations with other library systems or presented this at meetings? Is there interest from other places in doing something similar?
Yes, definitely. In Colorado alone, I'm part of a group called the Makerspace Interest Group through our state library association, and we get together on a quarterly basis and, you know, share ideas and talk about what we're doing to try to help each other out. And so the Makerspace movement is definitely being picked up by lots of different libraries at a variety of levels, because it doesn't necessarily have to be 3D printing to be maker. You can be soldering, you can be knitting. It covers a whole range of things. So there's lots of people that are working on this kind of thing. And I know that Travis has presented at conferences about this concept.
Yep, I would say I've had the same experience as far as I think a lot of libraries are interested in doing it. I think a lot of libraries might not have the resources that we have, and so they want to know how to implement it, but they need to know how to implement it on their scale. You know, we might not be able to afford a 3D printer, but we would like to do something like this. We see that it's important. We see this as the direction libraries are heading. What can we do? How can we best utilize our budget to make that happen, at least on a small scale for our library?
If someone prints out a NORPA radio, do they pay for the materials? Is there a cost for printouts, 3D printouts like that?
We do have a really minimal charge for 3D printing. You know, we're a library, so we try to keep our costs for patrons as low as possible, but we do charge 5 cents a gram. And with 3D printing, the objects that you're making with the plastic filament that we use, they're very light. So when they're printed, we take them right off of the build plate, put them on a scale, and see how many grams they weigh, and then we just multiply that by 5 cents. So a lot of people are creating things that are costing them under $1, maybe a few dollars. Some of the bigger items, they might be going higher, but it's pretty low cost.
Well, that's great. That you make it fair and reasonable for people to do that, and to learn the technology, learn what is possible. So, Travis, you talked a little bit about the changes in our culture that drove the creation of this library. Where do you see this library, what you guys are doing in this library? Do you actually see it driving cultural changes? And what kind of cultural changes would they be?
That's an interesting question. I think libraries are a reflection of the culture around them that uses them. I think we create opportunities, for folks to get together, and in that way, I suppose we drive culture. But really, I feel like libraries are a place where culture is collected. I don't know, Becca. Do you have thoughts on that?
I think a lot of it, because we want to provide what people want, a lot of it is probably to some extent responding to the culture around us and to the demand that people have. But there's also times when I think we're able to present an idea that might change a little bit in the culture. I mean, right now there are definitely people who are coming in and saying, well, so why do you have a maker space? And then when we explain the ideas about learning new literacies, helping local businesses, they're like, oh, well, that's neat. And so I think that in that way, it does change the culture to some extent.
Well, it's a beautiful place, and you guys are doing spectacular stuff. I want to give you each a chance to have a final word. Becca, is there anything I haven't asked about the library that you think would be useful for people to know about?
Well, I think one of the coolest things that we do here at this location is our annual mini maker fair, which is coming up on October 10th. And I don't know if you're familiar with maker fairs, but there's Make Magazine, and they've got these sponsored maker fairs throughout the country. And there's some of the really big ones like San Francisco and New York, and there may be some other really big ones. And then there's a lot of mini maker fairs that are just all over. Denver just had theirs in May. Lots of the big cities have them, and that's just one of the really cool things that we've been able to work with some local organizations on. We're working with the Center for STEM Education at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, the Colorado Springs Science Center Project, and the Colorado Springs Science Festival. And we've all come together to work on this, and we have it here in the library. And a lot of maker fairs throughout the country have a ticket cost, but because we're having it here at the library, we offer this for free. And it's just, the building is just full to the brim of people who do all kinds of really different and interesting things that fall into the maker movement, whether it be tech kinds of things or craft kinds of things. And we had around 6,000 people who came through last year for our our very first one. And so we're really excited about this year and seeing what will develop.
And what are the dates of that fair again?
It's October 10th. It's a Saturday.
Oh, beautiful time to be in Colorado Springs.
Indeed. It's a wonderful time.
Well, this is fantastic. Travis, do you have any final thoughts on, something cool about the library I haven't asked about?
I think we covered a good amount of stuff going on at our library. But yeah, thank you so much for having us both on. It's been fantastic.
Excellent. Well, you guys are doing terrific work there, so I appreciate you coming on. Have a terrific night, guys.
Thank you. You too, David.
Yeah, thanks, David. Appreciate it.
And that was Travis Duncan and Becca Cruz from Library C21 in Colorado Springs, using their kind voices to promote innovation and bringing people together in their community. So I appreciate you all listening and wish you a good night and to go out and use your kind voice to make a difference in somebody's life.
Here in our garden, we gather to share all that's inside of us, how much we care. Find strengths in our differences and reach common ground. Celebrate our unity in a tapestry of loving sound. So make a kind choice with your kind voice, and united we'll find our kind voices inside, which sing out in unity, creating community and bringing us together as one. Some of us make movies, some of us sing songs, some find forgiveness for a choice that was wrong. Some of us feed children, some help people in need, and all of us in our own way are planting a loving seed. When we make a kind choice with our kind voice, and united we find our kind voices inside, which sing out in unity, creating community and bringing us together as one. And each moment brings on changes, and each change helps us to see that we're all of us a part of our sweet humanity. And we each bring something special as we cultivate our soul, while the kindness deep within us makes us whole. Kind choice with your kind voice, and united we'll find our kind voices inside, which sing out in unity.